Era Lost Legend is a new RPG from Shades of Vengeance on Kickstarter now. It's actually ending really soon, so hopefully if you like what you hear us talk about, go check it out. We'll have a link down below. Anyways, this is an RPG based in a world where you are playing with the rebel faction Thorn fighting against Stardust, a company that uses its army of robots and fear to put a stranglehold on the world and life itself. You will be playing as heroes working for Thorn to try to get the shackles of Stardust off in order to gain crystals as either your corporeal or ethereal forms. Pretty much you can either play as regular old school classic heroes or these more spiritualistic magic-like heroes and creatures. If you can't tell from the artwork behind us, and if you look at the Kickstarter and the video, it's heavily taking inspiration from the Final Fantasy style games. And not just in the art style, but the game mechanics. When you make your hero, you will not only have the basic hero stat you see like in most RPGs, but you will have a skill tree to build off of. And this skill tree will level up every time you get crystals. When you gain these crystals, these in essence experience points, it's not simply get it to your character. Your whole party will get a bunch, and you can sort of distribute them as you like.
Yeah, it's a really interesting way to make your characters feel very customized, and you can decide exactly where you want to go and how you want to split those crystals up. Also a powerful reward for players. The game uses the Era D10 system. They've had a number of other Era games that have also used this. Essentially, it uses the system of D10s. So if you're trying to take any kind of an action, combat, whatever it is, you're going to be rolling one or more D10s, and you will need to get a certain number of successes on those, which will be a sum number or higher, depending on the difficulty of what you're trying to do. The GM will decide what that is. But you also have to watch out for ones that you roll, because if you roll more ones than successes, then you will fumble, and that's sort of like a critical miss. So that's essentially how it works. Otherwise, you go through, you're on an adventure, whether you be, like you said, corporeal or ethereal, trying to stop this company. And we got the chance to actually play through a short session with the designer of the game.
There will actually be a video he'll upload of that. We'll put a link down below, of course, of that too, so you can watch us. My very courageous brawler.
Yeah, so if you want to get an idea of how the game really plays, definitely check that out. But we're going to talk about a little bit just our impressions from it and how we feel after playing it here. Definitely, I think one of the first things that was cool, obviously the setting. So I do not come from a world of knowing Final Fantasy very well. I've played 9. I've also played Final Fantasy Tactics, some other spin-offs.
Yeah, I have only played some of the earliest ones. I think 4 is the most recent that I personally played. I've seen my brother, he played, I forget the number, with Lightning. And I know our friend is a big fan of the most recent one. I know he did he grinded, he went all in on it.
So you reminds me very, he said that it was more influence for him, I think, was taken from the later games in the series, like 6 and onward. But still, I think it's a cool setting, and I certainly didn't feel like, oh, I'm missing out on the lore or anything. I think you could definitely jump into this knowing or not knowing about that influence. What else any other thoughts on general?
For me, I think that skill tree is what I want to focus on, because that was definitely very the JRPG thing that I really love, because in this, these skills, a lot of them are just like +1 intelligence or +1 wit, but it's like this crazy spider web, so you really can feel like, oh, I'm going to go here and here. And if you get enough crystals, you can do the same thing of going to a new class. In his example, you can become the gun swordsman in 8 by not only getting gun, but also sword. So there's a lot more feelings like weird customization, and because each experience point is a level up in that tree, it was really fun to sort of build that up, especially when you can actually share them. We got to, and we gave them to you, so you can get more lightning power.
Yeah. So you can argue over who should get these crystals and when. And I think it's almost guaranteed. I think when you kill an enemy, in this case mostly robots, you're probably going to find at least one crystal there. So you really are going to be getting an immediate satisfying reward just from even a basic combat. Of course, as you go further, I think some of them will require 2 or 3 crystals to keep leveling up, but it's still really an engaging mechanic. I like that a lot.
The other really cool thing is the ultimate attacks. Now, for the physical forms, more of your generic warriors and stuff, they can only really trigger when you're really low on health, or they're more likely to. And once that happens, you can do these cool effects, and every time you roll 10, it changes to another ultimate attack. So I just had one turn where I'm just ripping pieces of metal off and constantly punching it. Granted, this enemy was way above than what we should have been fighting. But of course, my guy's like, he could take it.
Yeah, you were playing as the corporeal guy who uses regular weapons, and I was your ethereal sort of like spirit who was kind of linked to you.
Right.
And it's a really interesting dynamic, and I actually one of the things I appreciate about it is I think it's a system that is particularly accommodating if you just have 2 players with the GM, because there does feel like there's a cool bond between ethereal and corporeal characters, and I think that's, a lot of RPGs sometimes you want a bigger party, and this felt cool that way.
And your ultimate ability, the way it works is pretty much you had Meteor. You didn't get a chance to cast it.
Right.
But that way it works is pretty much you grow, according to the GM, you grow big and do this really awesome attack, but then you need to pretty much take a rest.
Yes, there's some really interesting, cool abilities that way. If you're more of the magic user, you can also specialize in like more of the attack heavy or more of a healing kind of build. And then with the humans, or humanoid, I should say, there's other races.
The 3 races I remember is the human, there's like a cat race and a lizard race.
Yeah, so you can definitely change your build there as well. A lot of cool stuff. It definitely was fun to play through, and I think, using the D10s, like, of course we're used to D20s, but it felt cool to be able to roll a bunch of them and take your results, and it seemed easy for a GM to on the fly kind of decide how they wanted to assign difficulties and stuff like that, and change up how things are working behind the scenes.
Well, I know for you like this more, and I tend to like it more too, is in D&D the way you don't do like all right, you get 6 experience, you get 5 experience. You pretty much choose when we level up. Right. I know for some people they don't like that because
it's more like the milestone system.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's better because really you can level up when we think we're ready to. And in this style, that sort of works well because you can, instead of just give when you give the experience, it's much smaller, so you can actually reward someone with, oh, you're really role-playing well? Guess what? You found a crystal.
Right.
Like, oh, I get to level up my tree.
Yeah, that can be really cool. It's nice to have those little rewards. So yeah, we had fun. I think that definitely check out that video, like we said, and take a look at the Kickstarter page. They have, there's a core rule book as well as a player's guide, and depending on which tiers you go for, digital, physical, they're different amounts, but certainly worth looking at if you're a Final Fantasy fan or you want a different kind of RPG. If you've tried any of these other games in the same era system, maybe it's another one you want to look at. Let us know what you think about those other games, because we haven't experienced them ourselves. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I think you should check out Era Lost Legend. Mm-hmm. And these are just our little impressions, but you let us know what you think when you go over there and take a look for yourself.
Until that time comes, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been Roll for Crit.
If you want to help out, you can check out our Patreon, or a simple click to like and subscribe can go a long way.
We really appreciate everything that you can do for us. We love you.